Tav Chaf Dalin Amud Aleph. We'll begin Chaf Gimel Amud Beis, right before the wide lines with the two dots. Below b'Shemen Sreifa, the Mishnah said that one cannot use Shemen Sreifa for the nearest of Shabbos. My Shemen Sreifa, what is Shemen Sreifa? Alma Rabba Shemen Shel Truma Shenitma. It's Shemen of Truma that became Tomei. If something of Truma became Tomei, it can't be eaten. Oil of Truma that became Tomei, it can't be eaten. Ramai Karla Shemen Sreifa. Why is it called Shemen Sreifa? Oil is Sreifa Oimet. Now what's it Oimet for? To be burnt. So that's why it's called Shemen Sreifa. Ubishabbos my time alloy. Now it's not Aser Bahana. It's mutter to burn it. It's a mitzvah to burn it. And it's mutter to use the flame, the light of the flame when it's being burnt. So why can one not use it for the Shabbos candles? Which was my time. Since it is a mitzvah to have it burnt. As Rashi explains, it's a mitzvah to burn it, not to have it lying around, because we're afraid that he might come to use it to eat from it, which would be, it's a Nisr Daraisa, and therefore it has to be burnt, and it's a mitzvah to remove it from his possession as soon as possible. So therefore, Gzera Shemiyata, we're afraid that he might come to be Mata, to tilt it, in order to have it burn faster, and of course on Shabbos, that would be a Malacha. Amalei Abaya, if that's so, Elameata b'Yontiv Lishtari. So why don't we say on Yontiv, where there's no problem of Havara, then why should it be also for Yontiv? It should be mutter for the Yontiv Licht. Allah Mutanan, but we learned in the Mishnah, in Madlikim B'Shemen Sreifa be Yontiv. But we learned in the Mishnah coming up, that it is also to use it for Yontiv. Then it should be mutter, but it's Gzera Yontiv Atu Shabbos. It'll get confused one with the other. Tosfos has a whole discussion why this is not Gzera, but upon him one will get confused with the other, and we're Geyser Yontiv Atu Shabbos. That is one approach. So one approach is that it is also for Shabbos, and really on Yontiv it should be mutter, but it's Gzera that Yontiv Atu Shabbos. But Rav Chisda has another approach. Rav Chisda Amar, no. We're not concerned that he might become to be Mata just because it's a mitzvah levara. That wouldn't be a concern. Elahacha, what is the concern? Hacha b'Yontiv shechaliya is erev Shabbos haskina. Meaning, really, for Shabbos itself, it should not be a problem, and it's not a problem. The concern in our Mishnah is it's talking a specific case. It's where Erev Shabbos is Yontiv. So to light the Shabbos licht, he has to light it Erev Shabbos, but it's Yontiv. And on Yontiv, the primary problem, according to Rav Chisda, is not Shabbos. The primary problem is Yontiv. Lefish ain't surfing kachim b'Yontiv, because we learn out from a pasuk. Rashi says, we learn out, and in Daf Chav Daled and Beis, we'll see you don't burn kachim on Yontiv. So therefore, this is included in that. Included in that is the burning of Truma Tameya. You cannot be done on Yontiv. So really, the Isser is on Yontiv the Isser. The case that we're talking about over here is that it's Shabbos, Erev Shabbos is Yontiv, so that's why you can't use it for Shabbos either. It says later that you can't be madlik with Shemen Sreifa on Yontiv. Does this not imply that what we're discussing over here is not Yontiv? The next Mishnah, the Seifa over there, says that you can't be madlik on Shemen Sreifa b'Yontiv. Doesn't this imply that our Mishnah is not discussing Yontiv? It's given an explanation. It's a continuation. They're all connected. Our Mishnah is saying you can't light with Shemen Sreifa if it's Erev Shabbos, which is Yontiv. There you can't light for the Shabbos licht. You can't use Shemen Sreifa. Ma'atam Kamar. What is the reason? Ma'atam Arim Madlikim Shemen Sreifa b'Yontiv, because you can't use it, because you can't use Shemen Sreifa on Yontiv. Why can you not burn Shemen Sreifa on Yontiv? Lefish ain't surfing kachim b'Yontiv, because you can't burn kachim on Yontiv. Tanya Kavasid Rav Chisda, we have a brisa that supports this latter pshat of Rav Chisda, that the Isser is on Yontiv, and because you ain't serving kachim b'yontiv, so our mission is discussing where Erev Shabbos is yontiv, because it says in the Brisa, Kol Eila Shamru Ein Madlikim Ben B'Shabbos, all of the oils that it says you cannot use on Shabbos, Madlikim Ben B'Yontiv. You could use them for Yontiv. Chutz Mishem and Sreifa, except for Shem Yisrael, Lefi Shein Sarfim Kachim B'Yontiv, because you can't burn Kachim on Yontiv. So you see clearly that the Isser is on, because Ein Sarfim Kachim B'Yontiv, and that's the Isser Frektesis. Doesn't it imply something the opposite? According to Rav Chisda, that Shem and Sreifa could be used for a regular Shabbos. It's Davka for, in this case over here, where it's Erev Shabbos is Yontiv. Now, the Brisa says, Kol Eila Sha'amru Ein Madlikim Ben Shabbos, what you can't use for Shabbos, you could use for Yontiv, except Shem and Sreifa. Except for Shem, doesn't that imply that Shem and Sreifa is something that you can't use for Shabbos, you can't use in Yontiv either? Meaning, the Brisa seems to be saying, Kol Eila Sha'amru Ein Madlikim Ben Shabbos, what you can't use for Shabbos, you could use for Yontiv. Except for Shem and Sreifa. Does that imply that you can't use it? This is one of the cases that you cannot use it both for Shabbos and Yontiv? So Tesis answers no. What it means is that Kol Eila, what we said, that Ein Madlikim B'Shabbos, you could use it for Yontiv. And certainly those that you could use for Shabbos, you could use for Yontiv. Except Shem and Sreifa, which is just the opposite, which is Shem and an exception, which you could use it for Shabbos, but not on Yontiv. And the case in our Mishnah is talking where Erev Shabbos is Yontiv. Iboilu, we have a shayla, ma'ula hasker shel Chanukah b'birchos hamos. Is there an obligation to mention ala nisim in benching on Chanukah? Is there an obligation on benching also to mention ala nisim? So as Rashi mentions that as far as tefillah is concerned, it's pashut, because it says lahalol ohides. They were kaiveya shmeinis yimechana lohides ulahalal. Hoides ulahalal, that means tefillah. So it's pashut that ala nisim was established in Shemona Esrei, and tefillah they established ala nisim. The shaila is, the question is, birchas hamazon. Does that include this lohidas ulahalal that they were kaveya shmeinis Chanukah? Does it include benching as well? So this has a different shot. He says in tefillah it's pashut. In tefillah it's pashut because tefillah is b'tzibur, and there's pirsumei nisa. So there it's pashut when they were kaveya the hoidas ulahalal, the pirsumei nisa. It's in tefillah, which is b'tzibur. But benching is not b'tzibur, so maybe there is not that element of pirsumei nisa, and therefore perhaps there's no requirement to mention ala nisim in benching. So what's the shaila? Do we say, since it is a chiyuv d'Rabbanan, this institution of ala nisim is d'Rabbanan, you don't mention it? Why don't you mishum pirsumei nisa madkarinan? Or do we say no, nevertheless, even though it's chiyuv d'Rabbanan, but since there's pirsumei nisa, the Chacham extended this chiyuv to benching as well. Even though ala nisim is d'Rabbanan, but nevertheless, perhaps since there's this element of ala nisim, the Rabbanan extended it, and it should be even by benching, we should mention ala nisim. You do not have an obligation. However, but if you do mention it, it should be mentioned b'haidah in the birchas ha'oretz. That's where it should be mentioned in haidah. As Taisa says, that because ala nisim is an element of haidah, of thanksgiving. It's not a tefillah, it's not a bakasha. So therefore, the appropriate place to mention it is in the bracha of haidah, the birchas ha'oretz. Rav Huna bar Yehuda Ichla be'Rava Samralat Karuv B'nei Yerushalayim. He thought to mention it, that it should be mentioned in the bracha of benching in B'nei Yerushalayim. Why B'nei Yerushalayim? So Taisa says, just like we see that Yalav Yavai is, you mention Yalav Yavai in B'nei Yerushalayim. Why? Because the Yalav Yavai, now why do we mention it in B'nei Yerushalayim? Because the Yalav Yavai, as Taisa explains, is a tefillah. We're asking something from Hashem. We mentioned in B'nei Yerushalayim, and where we mentioned on Yerushalayim, it's Tachnunim, and we're asking and pleading for Yerushalayim. And similarly, in Shemona Esrei, you mentioned Yalav Yavai in Avodah, where it's a tefillah to restore the Avodah There's sort of the avoida to Klal Yisrael that we should be able to serve Hashem in Yerushalayim Beis Hamikdash. So he thought that it should be similar to, just like we mentioned Yalav Yava, he thought Ala Nisim should be similar, and therefore we should mention Boin Yerushalayim. Amar L'Roshei says no. It is Ketfila. It's Ketfila Matfila B'Haidah Averchas Hamazon K'Haid B'Haidah. Just like in Tefillah when we mention Ala Nisim, we mention in Haidah. That's where we mention it. So over here as well, we mention it in Haidah. As much as we said before, like Taisa says, that Ala Nisim is Thanksgiving. So even in Shemona Esrei, we don't mention it. It's not like Yalav Yaveh where we mention it in Avodah. We mention it in the Broch of Haidah, of Thanksgiving. So too in benching, we mention it in the Berachos Haaretz, in the Berachos Haidah. In Boiler, we have the following Shaila. If it's Rosh Chodesh, do you mention Yalav Yaveh in benching Berachos Hamazon? If you'll say that we don't have to mention Ala Nisim in benching by Chanukah because it's a D'Rabbanan and there's no requirement. However, perhaps you'll say Rosh Chodesh itself, the day of Rosh Chodesh, is a D'Oraisa. It's Menat Torah, we're Makar Karbonos on Rosh Chodesh. So Tzorech, perhaps, therefore, you should have to mention Yalav Yaveh in benching Rosh Chodesh. Or perhaps it's not a Yontiv, it's not a day that it's also to do Malacha. It's not a Yontiv. Therefore, Lo Maskarina, perhaps the Rabbanan were only Mechayiv it in a Yontiv, a day that's also B'asiyas Malacha, but not Rosh Chodesh. Rav Amar Maskir, Rav says you do mention it. Rav Chanina Amar Eino Maskir. He says you do not. Amar Rav Zrikin the Kait the Rabbi Yotcha. You should follow what Rav says that we are Maskirin. The Koi Rav Aishia Kavasi, because you see the Rav Aishia holds that way as well. How do we see the Tan Rav Aishia? He says Yomim Sheish Bem Korban Musaf, days that you're Makriv a Korban Musaf, Ki Gain Rosh Chodesh V'Chol Shol Moed, like Rosh Chodesh and Chol Moed. Now there's a Korban Musaf. There's no Asiyas Malacha on Rosh Chodesh, but there's a Korban Musaf. So Aravis V'Shachar, so Mincha, on Marav Shach, so Mincha Mispal Shemona Esrei. Yadav and Shemona Esrei v'Omer Me'inam Oira ba'Avodah, and you mentioned Yalav Yaveh. Yalav Yaveh is mentioned in the bracha of Avodah. V'im lo yomar machzirin oisoi, and if he did not say it, then it has to be repeated. If he did not say it, it has to be repeated. Now we know that this is by Marav on Rosh Chodesh. We do not, because in Mekachim it's a Chodesh at night. Bezin is not Mekachim, it's a Chodesh at night. But otherwise you do, and on Chol Shemayit you do. Ve'ein b'hem kedusha al kais, and there's no kedusha on the kais. You don't make kiddush on the kais. V'yesh b'hem haskara b'berachos hamazon, and it says clearly that there is haskara. You do mention Yalav Yaveh in benching. Yomim she'ein b'hem korban musaf, days that do not have a korban musaf kigoin. Sheni v'chamishi, Monday and Thursday. V'ta'aniyos, and fast days. If the Chacham were geyser, a special fast day, there were no rains. They were geyser tanis, so they had special tefillah in the tefillah in Shemona Esrei. They had a special tefillah tanis. Ma'amodos and ma'amodos. The ma'amodos were the groups who were the representatives of the shluchim of Klal Yisrael to be oimen on the korbanos. The korbanos tzibur. So you have the dinners of the Baalim have to be oimed on the Karbonis. Karbonis Tzibur, the Baalim, and Klal Yisrael. Now, of course, not everybody could be oimed on the Karbonis. They had 24 groups that were designated as Ma'amodas. Some came to the Beis Hamikdash to be present when they were Makriv the Korban Tzibur. Others remained in their cities, but they were Kaira and B'Taira, and they fasted. And they fasted Monday to Thursday. So the Taniyas and Ma'amodas reflecting more Sheni v'Chamishi Ma'avitayu. Mondays and Thursdays, it's mashma that a regular Monday and Thursday, that those are regular days. What significance does that have over here? Ella, what it means is Sheni v'Chamishi v'Sheni Shal Ta'aniyas. It means the Monday and Thursday and Monday of the fast. They were geyser on the special fast days. There were no rains. They were geyser fast days, Monday, Thursday, and Monday. Ma'amodas, and the fast days are Ma'amodas. So Aravis v'Shachar v'Mincha, Marav Shachar v'Mincha Mispal Shemona Esrei. And they say the main Moira, what's relevant to the day, it's in Shemei Tefillah. So those days that they mentioned in Shemei Tefillah, Rashi mentions that on the days of the fast days, even though the fast started in the morning, it didn't start from night, but already the Tefillah, they already said the Tefillah from the night, from the Arvis. Now, v'im lo yomer ein machzir naisa, but if he omitted it, you do not repeat the Shemana Esrei. Ve'ein behem haskara b'berchas hamazon. Here it does not have a haskara in berchas hamazon. However, you do see that as far as our shaila, that Lagabi Rish Chodesh, you do see that as long as there's a korban musaf, then there is a haskara.